Tom Top recently sent me the RG280V 2.8-inch screen. Got some bumpers up there, USB Type-C, headphone jack. A lot of people's complaints on this unit was the single speaker, although it is loud. Okay, it's plenty loud. You have, looks like dual micro USB slots, volume up and down. And then you have your reset button and your power button. On the front here, you have your A, B, X, Y, select and start, and your D-pad. The D-pad to me is very, very stiff. I think some people might actually like a stiff D-pad. If that's the case, this might be right up your alley. I found it a little too stiff myself. Upon boot up, you're gonna notice the same software that you see with all the RG series. And here you go to emulators over here. And it does come fully loaded. So here are the specs, and something to note that this is a aluminum chassis, so unlike some other RG series that have a plastic shell, this is a really well-made device. Now look at those specs there. It's nothing super crazy, but it's plenty good for the majority of games. And then the price is right. It's right around somewhere. You're going to find these between $60 and $80 right now, and it'll probably go down in price in the future. And this one comes fully loaded with an extra 32 gigabyte SD card. Thus, it's ready to plug and play when you buy it. So it does come preloaded with a ton of stuff: Neo Geo, Game Boy Advance, PC Engine, SNES, NES, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advanced, Game Boy, Sega Game Gear, Final Burn Alpha, arcade sets, so a little bit of everything. When you go, and then PlayStation actually plays okay. You actually do have PlayStation on here as well. Some games will actually run okay. And then you have some like really generic games and stuff that you might just want to not even play with. And then the settings, you know, this, you can update the firmware and stuff. You can remove the SD card. You can add ROMs. You can update the firmware. So that's pretty cool. I mean, the control-wise, I can actually get behind this. Let's get some cops on us. So this game is not particularly hard to emulate, but as you see, it's running just fine. And a lot of games will run just fine. A lot of main games, Final Burn Alpha. You're gonna have thousands of games you can play on this thing, and then, like I said, you can add your own ROMs. Let's talk about ROMs for a second. Now, something that kind of sucks about the Anbernics is, you know, the ROM file names and everything are kind of weird because they are a Chinese company. It's, you know, if you're in the UK or the US, you're probably used to way different ROM sets, different spellings, things like that. And you can absolutely start from scratch and do a clean install with a clean ROM set and get your game list all fixed up nice. But if you just want to plug and play as well, it's you know, pretty decent. So as far as ROMs and file structure goes, it's not perfect, but it's also plenty good plug and play, but also plenty good if you want to just start from scratch as well. And there's a lot of websites and third-party communities out there that are always working on this and, you know, making really cool setups. If you want to play this thing like a oh, I found a hole. Okay, so you can absolutely play Game Gear. So here you go, Mega Drive. It's playing Sonic 2. So do note these are running on very common emulators, so you can save your state, you can load a state, you can edit the emulator like scan lines and things like that within the emulators.
It's actually very flexible in that regard. I did want to touch really quick on the screen. The screen is gorgeous. Ambernick really has some of the best IPS displays out there. Now, it is kind of small to me, 2.8 inches, but, you know, like I said, and I'll be showing in a second, it's very pocketable, and it's still plenty good for these retro. Do note, you know, this thing has about a 7-hour battery life, which is great. You know, you do a 3-hour gaming session, you turn it off, and then you can turn it back on later and do another 3 hours. Unlike a cell phone where, you know, you start gaming really heavily, you're going to start wasting your battery really quickly. So as far as controls, like I said, D-pad's a little stiff, and with these big hands of mine, it is cramped. I'm not going to get behind that. It is cramped, and a long gaming session might be a little more difficult on this device.
And slip it in your pocket. That's it. These are pretty tight jeans, but as you see, they're totally pocketable. The form factor's so small that you don't really have to worry about this bending at all. And again, it's so cheap, you know, compared to, I don't know what kind of cell phone you have in your pocket, but you know, my cell phone, if I was to replace, is probably $300 or $400. So, you know, to have something that I could has great battery life, it's going to last a long time. You don't have to worry about charging it so much, and then it's just so pocketable. Just throw it in your pocket. So for that reason, it's actually pretty cool. Where I don't like it so much is just in the controls. It's kind of small. I would have liked a bigger screen. I would rather get a 351 or something like that if I had the money. But if I'm really into emulation and I want to have something just throw around, or it makes a really good gift because of the price point, this might be a good one to check out.